I'm just looking forward to the point where I can just be a woman of God and not have to worry about all these secular mentalities that are deceiving women into thinking that they should be certain ways. There's so much confusion in this Manisphere thing, and it's continuing. And I think it's because we are just in a time of confusion, to be honest. Because it's like these men, they want traditional women while being modern men themselves, and think that a traditional woman is going to put up with the domineering narcissistic behavior that these men display. It's not going to happen. You can see the trash from a million miles away if you have any kind of discernment of God or any kind of traditional, raising in the household. A man was bragging about sleeping with some foreign woman and how she did her hair and that kind of thing before they slept together. He was talking about, there were no bonnets, and of course that was directed for black women because many black women wear bonnets. So this is why I'm wearing this, because God has called us to wear head coverings. It made me want to wear a head covering more. And while these women aren't wearing bonnets because they're doing it to the glory of God, there was a reason why women wore, bonnets or head coverings back in the day. And it was A, to shield themselves from the angels, and B, like, you didn't want your beauty to be exposed to all the men around, because hair really does have an effect on people. I think there's beauty in wearing a head covering as a Christian woman. I think that God wants that. He respects that. That's why Paul talked about you should cover your hair while you pray. I had to be reminded of this recently because the thoughts started to re-enter my mind. But we're in this state of confusion right now, and so we might ignore those things that are from God currently. So I'm feeling convicted to wear my head covering more. Some people might call this a bonnet and find it unattractive, but the thing is, when you do things for the glory of God, it doesn't really matter too much about what other people think concerning your actions that are in glory to God. So I feel like in this manosphere, people are trying to find reasons to basically hate black women. It's no longer about you're doing this and you're doing that, because I've been traveling the past 2 months since like early June, and I've ran across a lot of very kind and beautiful, warm-hearted black women, especially in the New Orleans area and in Texas. And I don't know where these black men are living, but it's probably in places where there are a lot of black women that are maybe seeking upward mobility, and they want to be the independent woman or whatever this deal is. And what's his name? Jamie Foxx had that song about independent women, but he still didn't marry a black woman, So at this point, I think it's an excuse, and I think that song was basically meant to steer black women in the direction of being independent so that they no longer depend on men. And that is an attack, of course, to the Israelites, because many of these black people descend from the Israelites. They want to split us up. They want us to be independent women so that our family system is broken. And that's exactly what's going on. And so these men have these videos, and if it's not your fault, it's still your fault type deal. One of these guys had put on his video, some guy was speaking, and he was talking about he can notice a broke woman from a mile away, and he'll entertain her for sex and this kind of thing, and he'll lie to her, whatever. He didn't care. And this guy was basically propping this guy up while simultaneously blaming women for being fools, for succumbing to that, instead of blaming the person that is actually out of line. And so that's how you're dealing with people that you don't want to be involved with, because they have no sense of integrity, mercy, compassion, and for that reason, God has defiled their minds. That's the case with a lot of people in this manosphere. They judge by appearance and not by the heart. And so that's definitely not a man that you want to be involved with, because God will hand them over to their demise. Because everybody has to stand before God in judgment. Whatever wrong that you do will come into judgment. And the constant badgering of black women, especially by other Israelites that don't know that they're Israelites, God will send them into judgment because they're not being the lead. It's supposed to be the man that's supposed to lead and teach and guide and that kind of thing. But what has happened is black women have ended up having to step up to that plate because there's no leaders in charge anymore. And so we end up becoming more masculine because we have to play the role of the man. But they will sit here and blame you for that reason because their authority has been usurped. And so now they're going to other cultures, other nations of women in order to, have the traditional wife after they basically have like pumped and dumped people. It's really remarkable. But, while man can't do too much about it, God, again, is the judge, and they will be judged for those kinds of things. But I do think God is going to raise up men that are going to hopefully pump some sense into these people. And I think because a lot of black women are undergoing this persecution, if you will, I believe that God is going to give them wisdom and knowledge in order to get through these trying times. and is going to make them teachers. I guess I would say mostly teachers, but shepherds as well. And that's been the case for a while, because it seems to me that a lot of black women, whether it be grandma or whatever, end up shepherding the family. And they're rewarded for those kinds of things, you know. And I think that we are going to have to step into a role that isn't necessarily traditional, kind of like Deborah type deal, in order to recover what has been lost. Because I honestly don't think it's going to be the black men for the most part. I mean, they seem a little lost in La La Land right now, unfortunately. And I see it more so with them, and this is no disrespect because every black man is different, but I see it more on a level with them than I do with black women. I mean, yeah, you have black women out here that are the modern women that want the guy with the 6K and they have nothing to offer, whatever the deal is. But I run into a lot more black women with their head on straight than I do black men. I mean, I sat for however long talking to this black guy because he was having difficulties because his ex had dumped him. And this guy was claiming God, and he was dating a non-believer. And, you know, he felt like she was trying to pull some stuff, and he had dumped her, or she had dumped him, and because he wouldn't succumb to it. And I don't know, he was all upset. So I spent like the whole day talking to this guy, and he had the nerves to try to touch my thigh. All right? I spent my time sewing into you, and you have the nerves to try to disrespect me in that kind of way. And this isn't the first time. I mean, a guy yesterday, he tried to text me talking about, oh, I could be the one. There's a reason why we met. And, you know, that stuff where people try to get spiritual concerning how you met and that kind of thing, I hear it all the time. It's nothing but them trying to run game. And it works on some women because they think it's a spiritual thing happening. But the fact of the matter is it did not work on me. And I told him I wasn't interested. Like, I'm not interested in secular men. Like, there's nothing attractive concerning secular men unless they are a physically attractive man. But the amount of nonsense that you have to deal with concerning secular men, it puts godly men at an all-time high. Like, if you want to talk about high value men, go to a godly man, because these are the men that are going to care not only for your soul, they're going to care for your sister's soul, they're going to care for your mom's soul, your brother, your daddy. They're going to care for that person's soul on the street that they've never even met. That's the kind of man that you want in your life. You don't want these guys that are trying to correlate high value with having a six-figure income, because that's what they're about. God said the love of money is the root of evil. All right. So these people think with a money mentality, and that's why a lot of these channels exist, because they're not there to actually help a lot of people. They're there to make money. And because people want to hear these kind of messages, because they want to tear down women, tear down the black women seems to be the biggest thing. You know, they'll say anything and they'll do anything to get that money. So women, do not be fooled by these men. They're not high value. Know that God can provide for you even without a man. Like, it's amazing some of the things God has done for me that there wasn't a dime that came out of my pocket. It was literally him giving it to me. So don't worry about being provided for. God said he even provides for, like, the crows that do nothing. They do nothing and he provides for them. I mean, that's not saying don't do anything, do things. But at the end of the day, if you're so worried about not being provided for, that's not anything that God can't do for you. And he will cleanse your soul, and he'll make you right, and he will give you eyes to see a decent man from a mile away. And the broke, poor, and I mean, by broke, I mean spiritually broke. The poor man, the spiritually poor man, from a mile away. And you won't want anything to do with him, and you will never go through those cycles in which these men have put you through. These spiritually broke men have put you through, that have basically broken your heart and your spirit, and now you feel like you're at a level in which you can't even have a husband. I mean, this is some of the stuff that they say. Oh, you're 40, nobody's going to want you. And those things are not true. God can send you a man from anywhere. And if you're wise, you will sit there and you will wait for that man, because he will send you the best man. So you guys be blessed and have a good one. Bye.